unveiling the specific, often overlooked mechanics that make each half of the one power uniquely formidable. Get ready to have your perspective on the Wheel of Time universe forever changed. Let's start with the most persistent myth that Say is chaotic and Saidar is calm. Oversimplification that erases the nuance of how each interacts with the weave, the invisible fabric of creation, woven by the Creator. Yes, Saidin carries the taint, the corruption left by the Dark One's touch during the breaking of the world. But that taint is not inherent to the power itself. It is a poison, a foreign invader. And when Randall Thor finally purifies Saidin in the Winter's heart, we see its true nature, a raw, unyielding force that bends to will, not rage. Recall Rand's first channeling in the Eye of the World. He doesn't lose control, because Saidin is chaotic, but because he has no frame of reference for its weight. He grabs the weave like a man clutching a storm, and the storm fights back not because it wants to, but because he doesn't know how to meet it. Contrast that with naive Almir's first experience with Saidar in the same book. She stumbles into the power while trying to heal a wounded villager, and instead of calming it, she merges with it. Saidar doesn't demand submission as some claim. It demands attunement. Nine doesn't let go to channel. She listens. She feels the threads of air and water and spiritum in her bones, and she guides them like a musician guiding notes into a melody. That's not weakness. It's precision. And it's a mistake to equate that precision with softness. Remember, when Iguino defends the White Tower against the Shan-Chan and the Shadow Rising, she weaves Saidar into a wall of fire that incinerates Trollocs and shatters demonic callers alike, all while maintaining a link with three other Aes Sedai, their powers intertwined like braided rope. Saidar's strength lies in its ability to connect to the weave to other channelers to the very life of the world. Saidin, by contrast, is a power of isolation not by choice but by tragedy. The tank turned male channelers against each other during the breaking. Fathers killed sons. Brothers turned on brothers because the corruption made them see enemies in every face. But even without the taint, Saidin is a power that demands individual mastery. When Rand stands against the Dark One at Shale Ghul in A Memory of Light, he doesn't link with other male channelers. There are almost none left, save the few he's saved from the taint. He stands alone and he commands the weave, grabbing threads of fire and earth and spirit, with a focus that would break a lesserman. He doesn't merge, he dominates. And that's not brutality. That's the power of a force designed to shape, to build, to repair. After all, it was LSE Theron Tellman, the dragon reborn before Rand, who used Saidin to seal the Dark One's prison in the first place. Another myth that Saidin and Saidar are opposites. They are not. They are two halves of a whole, each designed to do what the other cannot. Saidar excels at weaving life, healing, growing, sustaining. Nineveh's ability to rip illness from the body, to mend broken bones and even bring their recently dead back to life is a feat no male channeler could replicate with Saidin. Saidin, meanwhile, excels at shaping matter, breaking mountains, forging metals, repairing the very fabric of reality. When Rand fixes these seals on the Dark One's prison in the gathering storm, he uses Saidin to forge the broken stone to bind the cracks in the pattern because Saidar lacks the raw tensile strength to hold such a fragile cosmic structure together. They are not rivals, they are partners. Think of the pattern itself. The wheel turns, and Saidin and Saidar array the two hands that keep it spinning. To reduce one to male rage and the other to female calm is to ignore the countless examples of channelers who defy these stereotypes. Take Cadwyn Maladrin, Theodai, who refuses to be cowed by Rand's power. She wields Saidar with a ferocity that makes even the dragon flinch. She once trapped Rand in a weave of air and spirit, not with gentle guidance, but with the same unyielding will he uses to command Saidin. Or take Lone Ablar, the former false dragon who, after being healed of the taint, channels Saidin with a quiet grace that surprises everyone. He doesn't grab the weave. He invites it, proving that Saidin's roughness was always a product of the taint, not the power. We also forget that both Saidin and Saidar are indifferent to morality. The power is a tool, no more good or evil than a sword. It is the channeler who gives a purpose. Ishmael, one of the Forsaken, wielded Saidin to destroy cities and corrupt souls. But Rand wielded the same power to save the world. Mogan used Saidar to torture and manipulate. But Egwene used it to free the domain and restore hope. The myth that Saidin is dark or Saidar is light comes from fear. Fear of the breaking. Fear of what male channelers once were. Fear of the unknown. But in the Wheel of Time, fear is always the first barrier to understanding. Let's end with the moment that most perfectly sums up Saidin and Saidar's true nature. When Rand and Egwene stand together in the Eye of the World, facing Balin, Rand channels Sibim, a storm of fire on earth that shakes the ground. Egwene channels Saidar, a river of air and water that wraps around Rand's power, guiding it, tempering it, making it stronger. Together, their weaves merge into something neither could achieve alone, a blast of power that sends the Dark One's avatar reeling. That's the truth no one talks about. Saidin and Saidar are not just two halves of the one power, they're two halves of a greater truth. That strength comes not from dominance or submission, but from balance. To understand Saidin is to understand that power can be both fierce and controlled. To understand Saidar is to understand that power can be both gentle and unbreakable. And to understand both is to see the Wheel of Time universe not as a battle between male and female, but as a symphony one where every note, every thread of the weave matters. So the next time someone tells you Saidin is chaotic or Saidar is weak, remember Rand's first channeling, Naive's healing, Egwene's fire. Remember the way their powers dance together, not against each other. Remember that the one power is not a thing to be feared or simplified. It is a mystery to be unraveled, a gift to be honored, and a reminder that even the most divided parts of the world can come together to create something extraordinary. Your perspective on Saidin and Saidar won't just change. You'll wonder how you ever saw them as anything less than two sides of the same awe-inspiring coin. That moment in the eye of the world Rand Saidin-fueled storm-wrapped in Egwene and Saidar River was no accident. It was a glimpse of the one power's true face. A reminder that the divide we see is not a flaw in the power itself, but a fog in our understanding. The cosmic dance of Saidin and Saidar begins with a non-negotiable truth. There is only one power woven by the Creator into the fabric of the weave, and it splits into two halves. Not out of opposition, but out of necessity. Saidin and Saidar are not rivals. They are partners. Two hands clapping to make a sound neither could produce alone. Consider Rand al'Thor's revelation in the Winter's Heart, when he finally purifies Serene of the Dark One's taint. For the first time he feels the power without its poison. A raw, steady force that responds not to rage but to focus. A force that mirrors the quiet precision of Saidar he'd seen in Egwene and Nynaeve. He realizes then what Luz Theron Tellman, the dragon reborn before him, might have known too. Saidin does not want to destroy. It wants to build, to mend, to shape, just as Saidar wants to nurture, to heal, to connect. The two halves share the same core. They just speak to the weave in different tongues. Why then does the world of the Wheel of Time treat them as polar opposites? The answer lies in three shadows: taint, tradition, and gendered misunderstanding. The taint came first, a scar left by the Dark One during the breaking of the world. When Malacandlers began to go Apiwan, mountains crumbled and rivers ran red at their hands. The world did not see a corrupted tool. It saw Saidin itself as evil. In the eye of the world, Rand's own father, Tam warns him of men who touch the power as if they are monsters. A fear passed down through generations like a curse. Tradition deepened the divide. The White Tower, the primary keeper of knowledge about the one power for centuries, shielded by Aes Sedai who channels Saidar, and for millennia, it taught that Sidoni was a danger to be contained, not understood. Kazwan Maladron, one of the Tower's oldest and most formidable Aes Sedai, initially approaches Rand not as a fellow channeler, but as a threat, believing his command of Saidin requires her to tame him. A mindset rooted in tradition, not truth. Gendered assumptions sealed the gap. People looked at Saidin's raw strength and labeled it male, at Sidar's attunement and called it female, then twisted those labels into stereotypes. Saidin is chaotic and violent. Saidar is calm and weak. But naive Almira shatters that lie every time she wields Saidar to break through enemy lines or heal wounds none else can. Her power burning as fiercely as any Saidin storm. Lone Abler, once a false dragon cursed by the taint, proves the opposite when he channels Saidin after being healed. His movements gentle, his weaves precise, a living rebuke to the idea that Saidin is inherently brutal. Understanding this distinction that Saidin and Saidar are two halves of one whole, not separate forces, is not just a matter of knowledge. It is the key to saving the Wheel of Time itself. Rand's journey is a masterclass in why this matters. He spends years fearing Saidin, rejecting it, believing the world's lies that it will turn him into a monster. It is only when he accepts that Saidin is part of him, and part of the one power's balance that he can purify it, that he can stand against the Dark One. Egwene Al'Vir too recognizes this truth as Emerlin's seat. She works to bridge the gap between male and female chandlers, arguing that the White Tower cannot win the last battle alone, that they need the strength of Saidin as much as Saidar. In A Memory of Light, when a small band of male channelers joins Aes Sedai to defend Shale Ghul, their combined weaves, Satan's structure and Sidar's flow create a barrier that even the Forsaken cannot break. Without that understanding, the pattern would unravel. The breaking of the world happened because the balance between Saidin and Saidar was destroyed. The taint turned one half against the other and the world fractured. To prevent a second breaking, to keep the wheel turning, the world must see Saidin and Saidar not as separate, but as two parts of a single dance. This is the heart of the cosmic dance. Not a battle, but a harmony. Saidin and Saidar do not fight each other. They complete each other. The world's fear and tradition have blinded it to this truth for too long. But the channelers who matter, Rand, Egwene, Nynaeve, Lone, have begun to see clearly. They know that the one power strength lies not in choosing one half over the other, but in embracing both. And in that embrace, the wheel of time finds its balance. The last battle is won and the world is saved. To understand Saidin and Saidar is to understand the very soul of the wheel of time universe. A universe where divisionness and illusion and unity is the only true power. If Saidar is a whispering weave of precision and Saidin a storm tempered by purpose, their union rare ace a clear sky, and the blight reveals Theon power's true might not in division, but in harmony. For centuries, the world of the Wheel of Time kept these two halves apart, bound by fear of Saidin's taint and the White Tower's rigid traditions. But the rare moments when Saidin and Saidar flow together are nothing short of transcendent. The first such spark came in the eye of the world, when Rand, raw with Saidin's fire, and Egwene, steady in Sidar's embrace, stood against Balamon. Rand's weave of fire and earth shattered the ground, a tempest that threatened to consume everything in its path. But Egwene's threads of air and water wrapped around it, not to contain it, but to guide it. The two powers merged into a single blast, bright as sunlight through storm clouds that sent the Darkone's avatar reeling. It was not Saidin overpowering Saidar, nor vice versa. It was a dance, each half lifting the other to heights neither could reach alone. Another moment came in. A memory of light during the last battle at Shale Ghul. Nynaeve, wielding Sidar's healing, knelt beside Rand as he channeled Sidinato mend the pattern's frayed edges. Her weave of spirit wrapped around his, steadying it when the Dark One's influence threatened to twist it into destruction. Together, they sealed a crack in the pattern that would have let darkness flood the world. A feat no single channeler, male or female, could have accomplished. These moments are rare, not because the one power resists unity, but because fear and tradition have taught people to resist it. When they let go, though, the result is a power that bends even fate. Randall Thor, the Dragon Reborn, changed everything. Not just because he could wield Saidin, but because he became the bridge between its fire and Saidar's flow, a game-changer for the wheel's entire cosmology. Before Rand, male and female channelers existed in separate worlds. Akadai feared male channelers as monsters, and male channelers hid from the tower's channeling. Rand shattered that divide first by purifying Saidin in Winter's heart. Stripping away the Darkone's taint and proving the power itself was not evil. But more than that, he learned to trust Sidar's wielders. Tosi Nynaeve is a healer, not a threat. To let Egwene guide his power instead of fighting her. His unique ability was not just channeling Saidin, but seeing Theon power as a whole. When he stood in the heart of the stone in the fires of heaven, he heard LSE Theron's voice warn him of the danger of division, of how the breaking happened because Malachannelers turned from female ones. Rand took that lesson to heart. He brought Logo Nablar, once a false dragon, no healed of the taint, into his circle, and together they worked with Asa Sadai to defend the world. For the first time in millennia, male and female channelers linked their powers not out of necessity but out of trust. This was the cosmology shift. The wheel does not turn on one half of the power but on both. Rand's role was not just to be a hero but to be a unifier, to show the world that Saidin and Saidar are no enemies, but two parts of a single truth. This unity is what the old prophecy spoke of, though many misread them as tales of a lone hero. The prophecy of the dragon does not say the dragon will defeat the Dark One alone. It says he will bind what is broken and unite the divided. That divide is not just between nations or peoples. It is between Saidin and Saidar. In the world of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, the oldest prophecies carved into stone in the Age of Legends speak of two hands turning the wheel, one of fire, one of water. Those hands are Saidin and Saidar. The Dark One's greatest weapon was never his shadow spawn or his Forsaken. It was division. He corrupted Saidin to turn male channelers against female ones to make the world fear half of the one power, because he knew unity would defeat him. The last battle proved this. When Rand stood against the Dark One at Shale Ghul, he did not stand alone. Egwene led a host of Aes Sedai and me channelers. Their weaves of Saidin and Saidar tangled together like a braid of light. Naive healed the wounded, her Saidar weaving alongside lone Saidin to mend broken bodies and broken weaves. Without that union, the Dark One would have torn the pattern apart. The prophecy's true meaning is this: victory does not come from one power or one hero. It comes from balance, from two halves dancing as one. Bridging the divide between Saidin and Saidar was never just about channeling power. It was about healing the world's deepest wound, the belief that difference means danger. Rand, Egwene, Nineveh, and Lone did not just weave the one power in harmony. They were the world back together. They showed that the fear of Saidin's fire and the pride insiders' flow were both illusions, that the one power's greatest strength is in its wholeness. As the wheel turns into a new age, that lesson remains. The cosmos does not thrive on division. It thrives on dance, on two halves coming together to make something greater than themselves. That is the harmony of the one power, and it is the only way to keep the darkness at bay.